Welcome and good evening to the Lewiston City Council regular meeting for Monday, October 22nd, 2012. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll be led by Councillor Clint Daniel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item of business is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to our attention. You're encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the city manager. In consideration of others wishing to speak, we ask you to please try to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Are there any citizens' comments this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, public hearings and presentations. First is a presentation for the CDBG program year 2011 CAPER, C-A-P-E-R, be presented by Stacy Bodiger.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. I'm just going to give you an update basically of what I presented to you in June. I did a rundown of our accomplishments for program year 2011 at that time, and we've had a few updates since then, but some of it's going to sound really familiar to you. We spent almost $750,000 in CDBG funds this program year, and we had a zero balance as our goal for the end of the program year, and we almost met that, but somebody came in with a SNAP loan payback the last week of the program year, and I couldn't spend that last $15,000 quick enough, so we came up with an ending balance of $11,578, which is pretty good. Our timeliness ratio of less than 1.5 times our current award amount of $228,000. It's not going to be a concern this next June because we would meet that requirement even if we didn't spend a penny this next year. So we can kind of slow down and work on the process this next year with our new consolidated plan. Our award balance at the beginning of the year was just about $403,000. Our program year 2011 award was $242,000, and then we've got almost $70,000 in program income received as SNAP loan payments. So our total available was $714,783. We spent down $703,205, and that leaves us the $11,578. The SNAP residential unit or single unit residential rehabilitation program rehabilitated 4 homes during program year 2011. We spent almost $69,000, and that's the only activity that currently has a balance. In the SNAP multi-unit residential rehab, we spent almost $203,000, and that went toward the acquisition of the Crafton the Sea Point Apartments, which is a 50-unit senior LMI and disabled apartment complex. And that leveraged $3.5 million in other funding to rehabilitate those units for the seniors. And they just finished that up. And I believe that they have an open house coming up. I think it's the first Friday in November.
Yeah, November 2nd.
The YWCA roof replacement project, we spent $20,000 on that, and that'll help the Y use their funds in other ways to continue to provide the services for the homeless and the victims of domestic violence. LCSC's Adult Learning Center opened its doors in July. The city contributed $80,500 in CDBG funds, which leveraged $306,500. And 52 students registered as of July 31st. 79% of those were categorized as LMI. We had to hit a 51%. The LCSC Center for Arts and History elevator project is finished. The city contributed $50,000 to that. which leveraged $197,000 in other funds. The downtown library elevator, city contributed $133,000 in CDBG funds, and another $51,000 for their downtown library, the ADA accessibility project, which was to provide ADA accessible restrooms. Salvation Army Kitchen project, the city contributed $95,000 to that, and I believe that they are just finishing that up. And so for program year 2011, all we spent for administrative expenses, or all the city asked for reimbursement, just under $2,000, and that was basically for advertising. So where are we now? Our ending balance as of July 31st was $11,578. Our program year 2012 award was just approved, and we should be receiving that funding at any time. And that'll be another $228,000, which gives us $239,622 to spend for the next program year. I do have a public comment period, which is still open until Wednesday at 5 o'clock. If anybody has any comments, I would be happy to receive those in writing. They can either send them to me at the Community Development Department at P.O. Box 617, or they can email it to snap@cityoflewiston.org. And if anybody's interested in a full copy of the draft, it can be found on the city's website, cityoflewiston.org.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
Council have any questions for Ms. Bodicher? Councillor Kleberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy, so do we have any projects planned for next year? Or
Oh, yeah.
you wanna-
That was part of the action plan that I presented in June. We've got $100,000 set aside for SNAP, 75,000 for single unit, 25,000 for multi-unit, 10,000 for downtown commercial rehabilitation, and 2,000 for admin. And I believe the rest we have set aside for the Salvation Army's Hygiene Center.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Stacy.
Let me off easy.
Yes.
Thanks.
So I gather this no other action except for hearing your report this evening. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. We have a report presented by Ms. Bodicher for the SNAP, the CDBG grant for fiscal year 2011. Entertain a motion to approve the report as given.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the report. Is there any discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Next item of business is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion. Is there any items on the consent agenda anyone wishes to pull at this time? Councillor Randall.
I'd like to have item C and D put into the active.
Okay. We will move those to E and F in the active. Is there any other items on the consent agenda? So we're moving items C and D from the consent agenda to E and F on the active. Hearing no other requests, I'll entertain a motion to read the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to read the consent agenda as amended. Is there any discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Approving the City Council meeting minutes of September 24th, 2012 regular meeting, September 26th, 2012 joint City Planning and Zoning Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and the October 1st, 2012 joint City Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Accepting the meeting minutes of the October 3rd, 2012 Transportation Advisory Commission. Approving the administrative plat for Block 1 of Bradley Addition, located at 1823 Grill Avenue on 1.96 acres of land. Approving the administrative plat for the Wilkinson Addition, located on the northwest corner of the intersection of 16th Street and Burrell Avenue on .75 acres of land. Approving the final plat for Block 3 of the Esperanza Hills 2 with conditions as specified. Approving Resolution 2012-52 by title only, a resolution accepting and approving a public drainage easement from 2L Investments LLC, an Idaho limited liability company, as grantor to the City of Lewiston and Idaho Municipal Corporation as grantee and providing an effective date. Approving Resolution 2012-51 by title only, a resolution accepting and approving a waterline easement from the State of Idaho as grantor to the City of Lewiston and Idaho Municipal Corporation as grantee and providing an effective date. And approving the vouchers payables for September 14th through September 28th in the amount of $1,081,653.90, and September 29th through October 12th, 2012, in the amount of $2,169,860.86, and this excludes payments to Albertsons, Han Rental, Han Supply, and Retasil Engineering.
Okay, the council, the consent agenda has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended and as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as amended and read. Is there any discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to the active agenda this evening. First item of business is Resolution 2012-53. Mr. Bennett, you have some other information for council before we take action. Would you like to talk to us?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council. This item is a resolution that would begin the delinquency process for the Canyon Crest Local Improvement District in Lewiston. I have received a communication from the owners of the Canyon Crest subdivision who have requested that the council consider postponing discussion of this item to give them an opportunity to come to Lewiston and meet with city staff to see if another solution could be found to this before proceeding to the delinquency action. I explained to them that this was a matter that was at the council's total discretion, but that I would bring it before you and ask your pleasure on this matter.
Okay, council, we could table this till our next council meeting, which would be November 26th, or we can proceed on with the resolution. I'll entertain a motion to one of those two effects.
Mr. Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
I move, in the light of what Mr. Bennett has said, that Resolution 2012-53 be tabled until he has a chance to discuss it with the owners and bring it back to the council on November 26th. November 26th.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to table Resolution 2012-53 till November 26th. Is there any discussion by council? Councillor Cleaver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Bennett, so where are we at? So people know. They're obviously coming up on the point of being delinquent, or they are delinquent.
Correct. This project has been affected by the recession like many other housing projects have, I'm sure, across the nation. Sales have slowed down significantly to the point where the revenue coming in from the assessments for the sale and development of lots is no longer sufficient to make the bond payments on the LID. As of November 1, when the city makes its final or its next payment for the bond, all of the resources for this LID will have been exhausted as far as what's been collected already for payment for the eventual retirement of the bond. So that's why we're at the point where we're at right now. And then the next step, obviously, is to see if there is another alternative or some other way to address the what's going to be, a difficult bond payment to meet next year rather than the one on November 1. But we need to start the process now. There's a 2-year waiting period anyway from the time this process starts before anything can happen in order to give the owners of the property an opportunity to redeem the bond during that 2-year period. So that's basically where we are right now.
Okay, this was roughly about a $1.9 million project, I believe.
Originally was about a $2 million project to be repaid over 15 years.
15. That was my next question. So annual payments from the developer,
Around, with interest, around $200,000 is the annual bond payment.
okay?
Any other questions from council? Councillor Daniel?
What's the motion on the floor then? Is it just to postpone until the next meeting, or?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Table, just a table till November 26th.
Okay.
And
Councillor
to
Kleber.
follow that up, then what do we expect to have happen between now and the 26th?
We have already talked with the owners of the project about scheduling a date to meet probably next week, where they will come actually to Lewiston. One of them is local, and one of them is from Portland, and we will discuss, the topic and see if there is another option available to us to address the bond repayment short of proceeding with the delinquency action.
Because currently, we're on the hook. If they can't make the payments, we're guaranteeing the LID, correct?
No.
Oh, we're not. So it's still back on them.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, members of the
Thank you.
we sold bonds to SunTrust Company to cover the amount of the LID payments. Because of the way the LID statute is written, if the developer goes into default, that doesn't mean the city's on the hook for that. In fact, what happens is the notice of delinquency, which is noted in the outline that I gave you, acts as a bill of sale of the property to the city. Now, the statutes require that we do everything we can to make the bond holders whole. So if after 2 years that property is not redeemed by Canyon Crest Estates or is not assigned to somebody else and they pay it off, then we would be obligated to sell the property and turn the proceeds over to the bondholder.
Okay.
But they have no legal recourse against us, just the way the statute's written.
Any other questions? So basically, my understanding is then on November 26th, we're anticipating one of two things. Either we have an agreement of how they're going to fund and bring this current, or be able to make their bond payments going forward and building that account up, or we'll basically proceed on the delinquency action.
Correct.
Is that the
Correct.
two? Okay. Clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Motion on the table is to table Resolution 2012-53 till November 26th. Councillor Stevenson.
I guess I have a question. It's for Mr. Bennett. Why did they wait until the last minute? I realize the discussions have been going on over the period of time, but why all of a sudden now and not before this crunch?
Oh, I would say because we notified them that we were going to proceed with this formal delinquency action. And so as a result, they contacted us to ask us to sit down and review this with them additionally. But you're right, we've been meeting with the Canyon Crest owners for over 2 years now.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing no other discussion, those in favor of tabling Resolution 2012-53 till November 26th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Next item of business is vouchers payable, approving vouchers, Albertsons vouchers payable dated September 29th, 2012 through October 12th, 2012, in amount of $396.20. I'll entertain a motion to approve those vouchers payable with Councillor Daniel abstaining due to conflict of interest.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve vouchers payable to Albertsons for the amount of $396.20. Is there any discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0 with Councillor Daniel abstaining. Next item of business is vouchers payable to Han Rental, Han Supply, for vouchers dated September 14th through September 28th, 2012, and September 29th through October 12th, 2012, in the amount of $5,188.19. I'll entertain a motion to approve these vouchers payable with Councillor Kleberg abstaining due to a conflict of interest.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve vouchers payable to Han Rental, Han Supply for $5,188.19. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0 with Councilor Kleberg abstaining due to conflict of interest. Due to conflict of interest on item D, Mayor Pro Tem Cannon, would you take this issue, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Active agenda item D, vouchers payable, approving the Rita Engineering vouchers payable dated September 14, 2012 through September 28, 2012, and September 29, 2012 through October 12, 2012, in the amount of $58,548.12. I'd entertain a motion to approve the vouchers payable.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the vouchers payable to Rita Engineering in the amount of $58,548.12. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0, or 6-0 with Mayor Poole abstaining. Mayor Poole?
Thank you, Pro Tem Cannon. Next item of business is bid award for liquid de-icer. Asking to approve the awarding of the proposal for liquid de-icer to Roadwise Incorporated, Tacoma, Washington, for $132 per ton. I'll entertain a motion to approve, and then we'll have discussion. That'd be so. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bid award for liquid de-icer. Councilor Randall.
I just had a question for this. How much did we pay for de-icer last year?
I'll defer to our Streets Division Manager, Keith Pena.
He's got all of this.
Stuff.
Mr. Mayor and Council, it was $128 last year per ton.
Is this still a magnesium chloride product, or is it
Correct.
something? Okay. Councilor Kleber.
How many tons do you figure we bought, Keith?
A really bad season, about 350 tons. A light season, 100 tons.
Any other discussion? Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Pingman. Okay, hearing no further discussion, those in favor of awarding the bid award for liquid de-icer to Roadwise Incorporated of Tacoma, Washington for $132 per ton, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Next item of business is Resolution 2012-50, establishing water and wastewater equity buy-in fees and charges for 2013. For discussion purposes, I'll entertain a motion to read Resolution 2012-50.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to read Resolution 2012-50. Is there any discussion by council?
I just wanted to say it was interesting that they were offering to lower the rates. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. That's why I brought it up.
Okay. I think that's something we revisit every few years to make sure that we're getting the right equity buy-in. So, any other discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor of reading Resolution 2012-50, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Approving Resolution 2012-50 by title only, a resolution establishing water and wastewater equity buy-in fees and charges for 2013 and providing an effective date.
Resolution 2012-50 has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2012-50.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2012-50. Is there any discussion by council?
Just like I say, it was interesting that they're offering to lower the rates,
Okay.
considering the times.
Mr. Mayor. So, with Mr. Randall, it is exactly right, and it's $14 less than it was last year. So,
Yeah.
just want to make sure that people understand that it's going down.
And I think they'll appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks for putting it on the active agenda so people would know that. I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. That completes our active agenda. We'll move on to unfinished and new business. Do we have city councillor comments this evening? Mr. Councillor Ortman.
Mr. Mayor, I have comments about two projects going on in the community that are very visible at the moment. One of them started last Saturday. That's the Winter Spirit and dealing with the lights. And there's always a call for volunteers from 8:30 in the morning until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Encourage people to come out to help with Winter Spirit. The second one is the rapidly growing project, that of the Idaho Territorial Capital replica. Thanks to a lot of volunteers, including an additional contractor. Now I think we've had, at least 7 contractors who've volunteered. So we're up to about 7. In addition to that, we have had lots of help from other local businesses that have been giving us good discounts in areas that are important financially. We also have had an enlistment of the Construction 3 class from the high school that's been there doing an awful lot of work this last week. They are meeting there 2 days a week for several hours. They've been putting flooring down, they've been caulking, and I think they've been staining windows as we move forward. If you haven't had a chance to see the handmade windows, I hope that you do. That's an extra prize for us in the project, moving along well. I'm very gratified that this last month that we've had additional contributions of almost $8,000 or $9,000 that have come in. We're looking now at the last $10,000 run in that project. I appreciate the generosity of the people in Lewiston. It takes a lot of $100 bills to get there and a few $1,000 bills along the way, even though I understand we don't print those anymore very well. But express gratitude, and I hope people are going down to enjoy that.
Councillor Randall, did you have a comment?
Recently, we received the councilors received a letter from the city attorney concerning some of the questions I had posed in prior meetings. One of the questions was about the applicability of Article 8, Section 3 of the Idaho Constitution as far as transfer of funds from the sanitation fund to defray the cost of the library, and she discussed that in length. However, she didn't address the case of City of Boise versus Frazier, and she did say she would provide copies, but I'd also like to recommend that there is a very good breakdown of the City of Boise versus Frazier by Danielle Quaid in the Idaho Law Review for year 2007. That'd probably be, it actually would probably break it down and be more understandable because it's in layman's English instead of reading a court case, which can be tedious to say the least. And then the next question I had was a question of whether the Article 9, Section 5 of the Idaho Constitution would pose a problem as far as our donating to certain organizations in the community, and that was concerning religious organizations or organizations that have some religious bent, such as probably something like the Salvation Army, that kind of thing, and that was discussed as far as Article 12, Section 4, but not very much in the way of the Article 9. But that particular article is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty straightforward, I believe. And what I would like to propose is to have this letter attached to the minutes for this meeting as a permanent record.
Okay. As all the counselors we've all got a copy of that letter. Was there any additional information that you brought up, that Frazier decision?
I'm happy to discuss the Frazier
Idaho
case if you like, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Well, I would just say if anybody's interested, you just go to the internet and go to City of Boise versus Frazier and look for S.C. Danielle Quaid. That's the lady that wrote it for the Idaho Law Review. And it's a very good explanation of what the case was about and the restrictions it put on cities as far as handling of their money for construction projects, that kind of thing, outside of their normal expenses.
If you'd like an explanation of why Frazier's not included with what I sent the council, I'm happy to do that.
Yes, please.
Frazier is a case that involved the City of Boise building in addition to the parking garage at the airport. And it has to do with that constitutional section, but it has to do with whether or not there was a determination of whether it's an ordinary and necessary expense. So it's a different portion of the constitutional provision than what we're dealing with in transferring funds back and forth. And in our case, the question is whether or not it's an indebtedness. In that case, it was whether or not it's an ordinary and necessary expense. And the court determined that it was an ordinary expense, but not a necessary expense. And because that particular portion of the constitutional provision was not something that had an effect on us, I didn't address Frazier in my analysis that I gave you. I have copies I'm happy to hand to you if you'd like. You can look up. It's just a different type of analysis. The City of Boise wanted to go to outside funding to pay for the garage by declaring it an ordinary and necessary expense. And up to that point, many cities had built a number of projects based on the declaration of ordinary and necessary expense. The City of Pocatello built an airport based on that declaration. But it didn't have anything to do with the way we transfer funds back and forth. The question in our case is whether or not it's an indebtedness. And indebtedness is anything that you don't have enough income or revenue for the year to cover. And in our case, because every fund transfer that we make is a callable transfer, meaning that the originating fund can ask for the money back and we have to give it back. We have reserves and those things that cover that. So it's not technically an indebtedness based upon the analysis that's there. And the best case for that analysis is the Idaho Board of County Commissioners versus the Idaho Health Facility Association, which I referenced in there. And that's the discussion of indebtedness. But if there's anything else you'd like, I'm happy to provide it. I did bring copies of, although you all got them in your budget, I brought copies of how we spend the money on community projects. There are no sectarian organizations that we donate to. We do donate to community organizations, and so for our purposes, the question that the council has to ask is it a public purpose? And so you look at the places that we make those contributions to. Boys and Girls Club, for instance, is it a public purpose to help defray the cost of juvenile delinquency, that sort of thing?
So just to follow up on that, as far as obviously it is a public service for the YWCA, the new lid on the YWCA and the kitchen for the Salvation Army, but these are funds that are afforded to us through Community Development Block Grant Program, which is primarily federal money
It is federal money.
that is given
and
to us for
there are
specific
different-
projects for the betterment of the community, if you will.
There are different guidelines. In fact, there are couple of the cases that I cited in there had to do with, the constitutional provisions are basically the same, and they show up in a number of different places. One of them is in the article that has to do with public schools. But in that, there's a section that prohibits public schools and states, counties, municipalities from providing income to sectarian organizations. And the issues that have arisen there, and a couple of the cases that I quoted to you, are, for instance, when someone is, when a child is sent to a charter school or, let's say, a Catholic school, and the parents have requested school funding under the there's a federal program that requires equal funding for every child. And so they've required funding from the local school district based upon the Federal Equal Funding Act. And those are discussed in there. And those things that have a federal statutory requirement are generally upheld by the court, even though the Constitution says you can't pay into a sectarian organizations in those cases. And the Doolittle case is one, and I think I quoted that one, where they've allowed school districts to provide equal funding, even though the child has to go to a different institution other than a public school. Those are the kinds of things that have arisen. But we have, to my knowledge, no sectarian organizations on the list of our contributions, but we do fund through CBDG grants, and there are federal guidelines that allow us to do that, because we're not funding the Salvation Army as a sectarian organization. What we're funding is a meal project, a kitchen that will allow people, no matter what their sectarian background, to have food.
Or a place to take
As
a
I
shower.
understand it, that's,
And as a note, before we can expend any funds, those programs have to be approved at the regional level with the feds. And so those projects are vetted pretty tightly as far as, who's getting the money and what it's for. And before any of the funds are obligated, we have to get their sign off from them. And so really that we've already got approval to do those. These are authorized expenditures for federal dollars. So, feds are pretty good about making sure that you can't spend their money a couple of 3 times before they actually give it to you. Councillor Daniel.
So in your professional legal opinion, everything that's on the list, we're okay?
yeah, I did not see any problems with anything that's on the list, but it's always a determination that the council has to make when they make a contribution is it for a public purpose? And there are, depending on the organizations, there are probably arguments on both sides of the fence, but I think each of those can be justified for their public purpose of one sort or another.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay. Any other questions or?
Just an update on the First Street rebuild. It's moving along nicely. I know that it's kind of cumbersome down there and kind of tough to get a few businesses it's from D all the way north to the bypass that's tore up right now. They are going to start paving concrete from Main Street up to F, and so they'll get that finalized, and then the boring process underneath the railroad track starts, I believe, next week. It's going to be rather noisy. It's not a real quiet machine that comes to boring that size to get the infrastructure underneath the railroad tracks, but they're moving as fast as possible. It is a little inconvenient, but those businesses are still open. You can still get to them, but you got to kind of weave your way around a little bit. But I think First Street turned out real well. Total improvement down there. Skelton's and those businesses down there, boomers. But a few more months, that'll look real different and a lot nicer. But they're moving as fast as they can, and hope everyone's a little patient. But it's going to be a real nice entrance into our town off of the bypass. So it's going nicely.
Councilor Kleberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kind of follow what Brad said. I kind of stumbled into the Pumpkin Palooza the other day, which I forgot was going on. But I found myself downtown and met with Brianne, and Beej was down there. I even gave him a hand folding up his bouncing castle. But my understanding was they didn't have to close the street, which would have been a real inconvenience. But they were able to keep the streets open, and everybody I talked to said the place was packed, and they had a good old time. So to follow up on that, as we're heading to Halloween, I just want to remind everybody, watch out for little kids. It's coming up next week. You know, be careful when you're driving around. The weather could be inclement. And in a couple of weeks, before we get back on TV, I just want to remind everybody, take the time to vote, please. However you vote, doesn't matter. You get out there and vote. It's a big deal. Thank you.
Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out two things. The first is that this is Idaho Forest Products Week, and I know that may sound a little boring and dry, but it's a really essential part of our livelihood in Lewiston with the Clearwater Paper and Idaho Forest Products Group. And I really would recommend that people go to the Idaho Forest Products website. They have a tremendous series of articles and photos and really great information about sustainable forest, about the amount. You would be surprised at the amount of land in Idaho that is in different types of ownership and how it's managed, the differences in management. The Forest Products Commission has established a series of learning modules for schools, and as a matter of fact, they have an essay contest, and youth can participate in that and earn scholarship. So that's the Idaho Forest Products Commission website. And then the second part of that is that the Tribune, as some of you may know, has had a book published of the history and photographs of Lewiston and the area, and the second volume of that set is set to be released soon, and Potlatch and Clearwater Paper provided quite a number of photographs specifically about the history of timber and logging, the Wanigans, the log drives, all of that kind of thing. That should be very exciting, and I recommend that people look into getting that second issue, second volume, because it should be excellent. Thanks.
Any other councillor comments this evening? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Bennett, any city manager comments for us?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, just two items. One, regarding the next council meeting. The next regularly scheduled council meeting would be for November 12th. That meeting has been canceled in observance of the Veterans Day holiday. So the next meeting of the council will be in 5 weeks on November 26th. That's the Monday after Thanksgiving. Second issue is to note that next Monday, October 29th at 3 o'clock, we will be having a joint meeting between the city, Nez Perce County, and the Joint Airport Authority to review a number of issues affecting the relationship between the authority and the city and the county as it moves forward, as the transition becomes complete from the county and the city to the Joint Airport Authority. So that'll be at 3 o'clock next Monday.
Okay.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, I think that's one side note is that the veterans groups are accepting parade entries for the Veterans Parade for this November 11th.
Well, I believe it's on the 10th.
10th?
Yeah, Friday.
10th, Friday the 10th.
Saturday the 10th.
Saturday
Oh, it
the 10th.
is Saturday the 10th?
Saturday the 10th.
Sorry.
Saturday
Okay,
the 10th.
very good. We got Chief Orr keeping us straight here. Thank you, sir. So.
And what time is that, Chief?
11:11.
Okay, 11:11
Yep.
a.m. Okay. So if anyone's interested, the Veterans of Foreign War or I'm sure
American Legion.
American Legion,
Marine League.
Marine League, if you know any of those folks, they can make sure that you can get your parade entry into that. They'd probably appreciate it. Anything else tonight, Mr. Bennett?
No, sir.
Advisory Board and Commission appointments. Councillor Kleberg.
I don't have anything for this evening, but I've been talking with an individual about the opening on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and to put in a shameless plug again for the area of city impact. We're still looking for somebody from there. And then Chair Sue Brown has decided after her 12 years of service to this community, she is going to be stepping down at the end of her term, so we'll be looking for another person at that point in time. So potentially 2 openings on the P&Z. So if anybody's interested, Carrie has the applications, and look forward to meeting with some people.
Councillor Orman.
We are in the process of arranging interviews for the individuals who have applied for the historical preservation, but I had a little detour, as you know, to Sacred Heart last week, and that didn't get accomplished, but we'll get there. So
Okay, so probably,
it's happening either on the 24th or the 26th if we can get it scheduled, right, Carrie?
yeah.
Okay.
So by November 26th, we may
Right.
have some appointments.
We'll have appointments ready.
coming. Yes, Councillor Randall.
As far as I know, we still have 3 vacancies for the Solid Waste Advisory Commission, so.
Okay. Councillor Daniel.
We still have 1 opening for the Transportation Advisory Commission, so if you're interested, go down to City Hall or call City Hall for more information.
Okay. Thank you. Any other advisory board and commission appointment business? Sounds like we've got plenty of openings if folks would like to be involved. Okay, work session agenda topics. Are there any additional work session or agenda topics this evening? Hearing none. As I'd like to echo Councillor Kleberg's comments, please go out and vote. That's the most important thing and important right that a lot of people have gave their life for us to have. And so we encourage you to go out and vote and exercise your rights and have a safe and sane Halloween. So good evening. This meeting is adjourned.